everyone, welcome back to Biophilia's new video on part 4 of breathing and exchange of gases. So before making the concepts very clear, do like, share and subscribe to our amazing channel named Biophilia. So let's start today's video by learning about regulation of respiration. So regulation of respiration के major topic के अंदर we have to study first that is nervous regulation and second is going to be the chemical regulation. So let's start learning about nervous regulation first. So nervous regulation जो होता है that is going to be under the neural system. A neural system के अंदर there are various respiratory centers and these respiratory centers are going to be made up of various group of neurons. अब ये group of neurons होते हैं दो locations पे. The first is going to be the medulla oblongata and second is going to be the pons. अब ये जो respiratory centers होते हैं they have a function to regulate the rate and depth of respiration. Now there are two centers for this nervous regulation. First होता है respiratory rhythm center that is also as RRC and this RRC is going to be located in the medulla oblongata and this medulla oblongata is in the hind region of the brain. अब जो respiratory rhythm center है how is it going to contribute in regulation? By either causing expiration or inspiration that is going to be according to the need of the body. Okay, second center होता है that is pneumotaxic center. Now this pneumotaxic center is going to be present in the pons region of the hindbrain. Okay, pneumotaxic center का एक function होता है to moderate the respiratory rhythm center. Okay, और how is it going to independently contribute in regulation? By reducing the duration of inspiration. By this function it is going to contribute in regulation of respiration. So to remember which center was present where, I can help you with one trick that is PP. Right, PP यानी pneumotaxic center and pons are going to be clubbed together for your remembering trick. Right. Now let's study about chemical regulation. So chemical regulation is going to be because of the chemosensitive area. अब ये chemosensitive area किस वजह से होता है? Because of presence of chemoreceptors. Now these chemoreceptors are going to be very sensitive for carbon dioxide and H plus ions. Because of their increase or decrease in concentrations, the chemoreceptors are going to get activated. तो chemosensitive area को activate कराने के लिए the increase of carbon dioxide and H plus ions concentration is going to be responsible. So once the chemosensitive area gets activated, that is going to cascade to activate the respiratory rhythm center that was nothing but RRC in your medulla region, right? So once the respiratory rhythm center is going to be activated, it is going to alter the rate of respiration, right? So let's see how does the chemical regulation start exactly. So whenever the carbon dioxide levels are going to increase in the blood, that is going to increase the rate as well as the depth of your respiration. Then opposite to that, अगर कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड के लेवल्स कम हो जाती है then your rate as well as depth of respiration is going to be decreased, right? अब कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड और H plus ions के concentrations को डिटेक्ट करने के लिए we have two major bodies. The first comes aortic body and second is the carotid body. Aortic body नाम से पता चल रहा है the position would be aortic arch. So as in the diagram you can see the aortic arch. Can you locate aortic arch? So here is your aortic arch. Okay, the aortic arch के ऊपर होता है the aortic bodies represented by the yellow color, right? So these are going to be our aortic bodies. Second होता है the carotid bodies. The carotid bodies are going to be present on the carotid arteries. So carotid arteries क्या करते हैं? They are going to supply blood to the brain. Now brain being a very important part of your body, the concentration levels should be appropriate so that the brain can function perfectly, right? तो उसके लिए to get the perfect concentration detected, there is going to be presence of carotid bodies. So again, can you locate carotid bodies in the adjacent diagram? Okay, so the green colored portion is going to be your carotid bodies, right? So coming back to understand how the carotid body works, that is, carotid bodies are going to detect the concentration changes by understanding कि अगर कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड लेवल्स बढ़ जाते हैं, we know that there is going to be increase in H plus ions because of we have studied that H plus ions are released during the carbon dioxide transport. So carbon dioxide increase होने पे H plus increases, and H plus increasing, that means pH is going to decrease, that is acidic conditions develop. Now as soon as this condition is set up, what is going to happen? The chemoreceptors start detecting something is different, and they will send signals that would help to increase the respiration. Okay, similarly, if the opposite condition occurs, that is, if carbon dioxide is going to decrease, that means H plus decreasing, pH increasing, then respiration rate and depth is going to decrease. Similarly, the function is going to occur because of the chemoreceptors. Now let's see some important points that you have to remember regarding this chapter. So rate of breathing in aquatic organisms is going to be much faster than to the terrestrial organisms. उसके reasons होते हैं because aquatic organisms need to continuously swim in water so that they do not sink in the water, right? Terrestrial organisms can have stay for some time, but aquatic cannot. So there should be continuous faster rate of respiration, जिसकी वजह से oxygen supply is going to be continuous so that they can swim efficiently. Correct? So aquatic organisms will have a higher breathing rate. सेकेंड यहाँ पे एक फैक्ट याद रखना है, दैट मे कम, दैट इज Indian climbing perch is going to have accessory respiratory organs which are going to help the organism for breathing. Third point यहाँ पे you have to remember, that is in some turtles, okay, they are going to have a part of their body that is called as cloaca, and this cloaca can be used as a respiratory organ. Now as turtles are undergoing hibernation when they are going under winter sleeps, right, तो जब वो inactive हो जाती है during winters, major source of oxygen intake होगा through their cloaca, right? So majorly the turtles are going to undergo their normal respiration through lungs and gills, but during hibernation they are going to use cloaca as the respiratory organ. Fourth point है respiratory pigment, that is hemoglobin. Now this hemoglobin is going to be present in the invertebrates. In all invertebrates hemoglobin होता है, but in some invertebrates also like earthworm and nereis you can find hemoglobin as respiratory pigment. Now it depends whether the hemoglobin is present in the RBCs or it is present directly into the plasma, right? That depends on the organism. Now let's see another topic, that is anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration, that is the nutrients are going to be oxidized without using oxygen. Now when it is without using oxygen, you can also call it as fermentation. A fermentation process can be seen in the case of yeast. अब yeast जब organism है, it is going to use glucose. अब ग्लूकोज को वो जब एनारोबिक रेस्पिरेशन से ब्रेक डाउन करेगा, इट इज गोइंग टू फॉर्म इथाइल अल्कोहल एंड कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड. अब ये ईस्ट के मदद से देयर इज अ टेक्निक वेर इन यू कैन यूज ईस्ट टू मेक अल्कोहल, राइट? सो इथाइल अल्कोहल क्या होता है? अल्कोहल विच कैन बी यूज्ड फॉर बेवरेजेस. और कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड का जो एवोल्यूशन होता है, दैट इज गोइंग टू बी योर एरिएटेड ड्रिंक्स, right? So yeast can also be used in bakery items wherein it releases carbon dioxide, जिसकी वजह से the products are more fluffy, right? So that is nothing but anaerobic respiration. अब same process anaerobic respiration का बैक्टीरिया में भी दिख सकता है. It can also be seen in your human muscles, and when it is undergoing fermentation or anaerobic respiration in muscles, the glucose is going to be converted into lactic acid, and this anaerobic respiration in muscles take place when there is a shortage of oxygen supply. तो आप जब भी लंबी मैराथन दौड़ रहे हो और when you are under a sprint race, then your muscles sometimes cannot get enough oxygen, right? तो वो जब ऑक्सीजन नहीं मिलता है, but to have to release energy, then the glucose is converted into lactic acid, releasing a little amount of energy by anaerobic respiration. अब जो mature RBCs होती है, in these mature RBCs anaerobic respiration is going to occur. अब RBCs में anaerobic respiration क्यों होता है? Because RBC is a place wherein oxygen has to be supplied. अगर ऑक्सीजन जहाँ से सप्लाई हो रहा है अगर उधर ही एरोबिक रेस्पिरेशन हो जाए, then what will happen? The transportation is not that efficient. So RBCs में होगा anaerobic respiration because there is loss of mitochondria. Mitochondria के साथ साथ दूसरे सेल ऑर्गेनेल्स भी नहीं है, so there is no possibility for aerobic respiration. राइट अब एक यहाँ पे एक फिनोमिनन होता है दैट इज कॉल्ड एज हेरिंग ब्रूडर रिफ्लेक्स. व्हाट इज दिस? इट इज दैट कि जब वॉल्स ऑफ ब्रोंकाई और ब्रोंक्यूल्स देयर वॉल्स जो होती है उनके पास होते हैं स्ट्रेच रिसेप्टर्स. when these stretch receptors get activated, कब होती है एक्टिवेट? when there is going to be over stretching of the lungs. यानी आप इंस्पिरेशन कर रहे हो, दैट इज एयर फ्लो इज कमिंग इनटू योर लंग्स, but if there is lot of air coming in, lungs फूलने लगे हैं, there is overstretching in lungs, what can happen? It can burst like a balloon, right? तो अगर ये burst नहीं होना है, then there should be some control to take in the air. So that is nothing but हरिंग ब्रूडर रिफ्लेक्स. यानी जैसे ही ओवर स्ट्रेचिंग के सिम्टम्स लगने लगे, then your body is going to send a signal through the vagus nerve, and then the vagus nerve is going to continue to the signal and come to the inspiratory area in your brain. Now as soon as it comes to the brain that there is over stretching of the lungs, then the expiration will begin. यानी inflow जो air का हो रहा था that is going to be stopped, and then the air is going to be pumped out of your lungs. ये mechanism जो है that is a protective mechanism so that it can prevent the excessive inflammation of your lungs. अगर हवा भरती जा रही है into your lungs and there is no expiration, okay, then what can happen? Your lungs are like a balloon. You are filling air into your balloon, and sometime if you can't stop filling air, then the balloon can burst. That is nothing but excessive inflammation, right? So to protect your lungs from the over inflammation, what can be done? This mechanism can be utilized, which is naturally present in your body. Now let's get ourselves familiar with some medical terms regarding the breathing conditions. First is going to be anoxia, that means absence of oxygen. Second आता है hypercapnia. Hyper means increased condition, so here hypercapnia means increase in carbon dioxide content in the blood. Third आता है asphyxia, that means a condition combining anoxia as well as hypercapnia. मतलब ब्लड में ऑक्सीजन का एब्सेंस है एज वेल एज कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड हैज इंक्रीज्ड इन द फ्लूइड. Fourth is going to be hypoxia. Hypoxia में hypo means reduced, so here hypoxia means shortage of oxygen, right? So here you need to remember that the first point, that is anoxia, means absence of oxygen, whereas the fourth point, that is hypoxia, means oxygen shortage. So you should not get confused between the two conditions because there is a vast difference between them. Okay, so hypoxia जो होता है, hypoxia conditions can arise because of various reasons. So since the reasons differ, there are going to be various types of hypoxia. So here I have listed 4. The first is going to be anemic hypoxia. That means it is somewhere related to anemia. So anemia में क्या होता है? Hemoglobin is going to get reduced. Now as soon as hemoglobin gets reduced, what is going to happen? Oxygen carrying capacity is going to reduce. That means tissues will get less oxygen. depending that oxygen shortage is going to occur. Second is cytotoxic hypoxia. That means whenever the person has suffered from cyanide poisoning, then the tissue cells are unable to utilize oxygen. Okay, so whenever the cells cannot use oxygen, then it will be termed as cytotoxic hypoxia. थर्ड टाइप आता है दैट इज स्टैग्नेंट हाइपोक्सिया. स्टैग्नेंट हाइपोक्सिया में क्या होता है, इफ द heart is unable to pump oxygenated blood because of heart failure or reduced pumping activity, तो क्या होगा, टिश्यूज के पास oxygenated blood is unable to reach and that would lead to stagnant hypoxia. Last to discuss here, that is hypoxic hypoxia. That means if the air surrounding you doesn't have sufficient oxygen because of high altitudes, then you can have the condition of hypoxic hypoxia. Right? So these were some major terms regarding oxygen and carbon dioxide levels in your blood. Now there are some terms where they are given special names for the breathing conditions. So if the person is having normal breathing, then you term it in medical science as eupnea. Hypopnea is going to be for slow breathing. Hyperapnea is going to be for rapid breathing. Apnea is for no breathing. Then dyspnea is going to be for painful breathing. Now these three are slightly confusing, but understand them properly, then it would be easy. So here orthopnea means difficulty in breathing when the patient or person is lying down. Okay, in the lying down position, when the person is sleeping on the bed, then if there is difficulty in breathing, then it is orthopnea. If the person stands, then what will happen, he is relieved and he can breathe properly, right? Then that condition is orthopnea. So in the diagram you can see the person sleeping is saying difficulty to breathe. Next is going to be platypnea. Platypnea में क्या होता है, there is going to be difficulty in breathing when the person is in upright position. Either he is in the sitting position or in standing position, then there is difficulty in breathing. But अगर that person को अगर सुला दिया जाए, then what is going to happen, he can breathe properly. So again, what you need to understand, orthopnea and platypnea both are going to be opposite to each other, right? So last over here is trepopnea. That means difficulty in breathing when the person is lied on a specific side. अगर right side पे difficulty है breathing में, if the person is changing his side to left, then what is going to happen, he can breathe efficiently, right? So that was the condition of trepopnea. Let's now understand some respiratory problems. तो पहला respiratory problem we are going to discuss, that is hiccups. Hiccups यानी हिचकी आना. अब हिचकी आना is what? It is going to be defined as a sharp, jerky, incomplete respiratory sound. अब ये sound क्यों आता है? Because of sudden spasmodic contraction of diaphragm. Okay, diaphragm suddenly contract हो जाएगा. Because of sudden contraction in diaphragm, there is going to be a sudden closure of glottis. अब glottis जैसे ही close होगा, that is going to be closed because of epiglottis movement. Epiglottis suddenly जब flap बंद होता है, what is going to happen? There is going to be a large sound. Now this sound is nothing but हिचकी आना, that is hiccups. Okay, so this hiccups are going to be because of irritation in the sensory nerve endings of the digestive tract. जब ये sensory nerve endings irritate होती है, they are going to be causing sudden contraction in diaphragm. Sudden contraction of diaphragm की वजह से epiglottis is going to suddenly close the glottis, जिसकी वजह से hiccups का incomplete respiratory sound produce होता है. So you can see in the adjacent diagram how the epiglottis is going to cover the glottis to produce hiccups. Now, second discussion point is snoring. Or snoring is nothing but खराटे लेना. But खराटे लेना को how can we define it? It is a rough rattling inspiratory sound. Okay. Now this noise is produced because of the vocal cords. Vocal cords की vibrations की वजह से this noise is produced. Okay, now once the person is sleeping, right, during his sleeping position, there can be a chance of partial blockage of the upper respiratory tract. Now, as soon as there is a partial blockage in the upper respiratory tract because of the tongue, then there is going to be incomplete vibrations of vocal cords, जिसकी वजह से snoring noises can be seen. Now, in the adjacent diagram, you can see that this area that has been highlighted, in this normal upper airway tract, it is going to be open, right? But the upper respiratory tract, because of the snoring conditions, your passage is going to be blocked, and because of this partial blockage, there are going to be irritably noises produced. अब सेकंड यहाँ पे हमें देखना है, दैट इज साइनोसिस. साइनोसिस क्या होता है? इट इज अ कंडीशन wherein your skin and your mucous membrane is going to turn bluish. अब bluish क्यों हो जाती है skin और mucous membrane? Because of deficiency of oxygen in the blood. Now you can see in the figure over here कि कैसे लोगों के हाथ are going to turn blue, the nails turn blue, your skin turns blue because of deficiency of oxygen in the blood. Now this condition is nothing but cyanosis. Fourth discussion में है, that is narcosis. Narcosis is nothing but depression of central nervous system. Okay, अब depression of central nervous system यानी respiratory centers that were present in your brain which were regulating your inspiration and expiration are going to be affected. यानी अगर central nervous system में अगर कोई भी खराबी है और there is any sort of depression, then there is going to be a bad impact on respiratory centers. Now because of that you can have various conditions. फर्स्ट कंडीशन हो सकती है कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड नेक्रोसिस, यानी क्या? हाइपरकैप्निया. ओके, इन द टर्म्स आई हैड टोल्ड यू, हाइपरकैप्निया क्या होता है? इंक्रीज्ड कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड अमाउंट्स इन द ब्लड. So there, in this condition, what is going to happen? Carbon dioxide is not going to be expelled out of your body, because of which there can be a chances of increased carbon dioxide levels. अब कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड लेवल्स अगर ब्लड में इंक्रीज हो रहे हैं एंड योर रेस्पिरेटरी सेंटर्स आर नॉट रिस्पॉन्डिंग टू इट, देन व्हाट कैन हैपन? अल्टीमेटली बिकॉज ऑफ हायर कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड कंडीशंस योर सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टम कैन शट ऑफ, राइट? सेकेंड हो सकता है बिकॉज ऑफ हाइड्रोजन नार्कोसिस. हाइड्रोजन नार्कोसिस जनरली उन लोगों में पाया जाता है विच आर अंडर गोइंग डाइविंग डीप. ओके, डीप ओशंस में जो डाइवर्स होते हैं, दे कैन हैव कंडीशन ऑफ हाइड्रोजन नार्कोसिस व्हेन दे आर यूजिंग हाइड्रोजन टू इंक्रीज द पार्शियल प्रेशर इन देयर सिलेंडर्स. अगर हाइड्रोजन नहीं यूज हो रहा है, इफ दे आर ट्राइंग टू यूज नाइट्रोजन, देन सम केसेस देयर कैन बी नाइट्रोजन नार्कोसिस. नाइट्रोजन नार्कोसिस को एक स्पेशल नाम भी दिया है, दैट इज मार्टिनी इफेक्ट. Okay, other names can be as inert gas narcosis, because nitrogen, as you know, is an inert gas. So nitrogen narcosis को दूसरा नाम भी होता है, that is inert gas narcosis. And this is a condition wherein the person who is diving deep into the water bodies along with oxygen and the nitrogen in his cylinders, उसकी वजह से जैसे ही वो deep into the ocean जाता है, the pressure, the atmospheric pressure is going to increase, and because of that the nitrogen has the ability to get dissolved as bubbles in the blood vessels. Blood vessels में जैसे ही nitrogen पहुंच जाएगा, what is going to happen? The bubble is going to block the capillaries, and once there is blockage in the capillaries, there is going to be no oxygen supply or no carbon dioxide exchange. अब उसकी वजह से ultimately the carbon dioxide is going to retain and then again going to cause problems in your central nervous system. फाइनल हो सकता है दैट इज अनकॉन्शियसनेस, that is because of a narcotic drug or during anesthesia the person can have side effects of narcosis, right? Now let's understand some disorders of respiratory system. So first discussion point is going to be about asthma. तो asthma का क्या cause हो सकता है? Your first cause can be allergic reactions when the person is exposed to some foreign substances जैसे pollen grains हुए या फिर कोई ऐसी चीज है जिसकी वजह से the person is allergic, then what can happen? It can suffer from asthma. तो अस्थमा के क्या सिम्टम्स होते हैं? फर्स्ट सिम्टम होता है स्पैज्म ऑफ स्मूथ मसल्स व्हिच आर गोइंग टू बी प्रेजेंट इन द वॉल्स ऑफ ब्रोंक्यूल. ओके, स्पैज्म यानी सडन कॉन्ट्रैक्शन इन द स्मूथ मसल्स दैट आर गोइंग टू रिड्यूस द lumen of the tubes. Second होता है कफिंग. Then wheezing. Wheezing is nothing but production of sound while breathing. When the person is intaking air, then that time there is going to be sound production. That is nothing but wheezing. Fourth आता है difficulty in breathing due to inflammation. अब वैसे भी when there is allergic reactions, then the body has a tendency to show swelling and redness. Okay, once there is swelling and redness in the bronchi and the bronchioles, what is going to happen? The person is unable to breathe properly, and once there is unable to breathe properly, then the symptoms of asthma are more clearer. So in the figure 1, can you understand that how in this diagram you can see that in the normal breathing conditions the person has a wide lumen of the airway. Airways are more widely opened, but asthma के पास जिनको those who are suffering from asthma, they are going to have a narrow lumen, यानी airway का जो pathway है that is going to reduce, and because of this reduction there is going to be difficulty in breathing. Now let's see the second, that is एपिफाइसीमा. एपिफाइसीमा का cause होता है excessive cigarette smoking. Now not necessarily the person who is directly smoking has tendency to have epiphysema. No, it can also develop when the person is exposed or it is inhaling smoke or any toxic substances on a longer period of time. Okay, if you are not even smoking directly, but अगर आप ऐसे environment में हो wherein there is a lot of smoke, then there is a chance that you can have epiphysema. So what are the symptoms? First symptom आता है that is walls of alveoli are going to get damaged. Now you can see in the second figure that normal alveoli में क्या होता है? There is going to be large open empty spaces. Right, now these empty spaces are required कि gaseous exchange easily हो सके, but the case of epiphysema the alveoli are going to get narrowed, and because of this narrowing or the damage in the walls of alveoli there is going to be decrease in the exchange of gases, and again it is going to cause problems for the person. Now let's see another symptoms, that is loss of elasticity of walls of bronchioles and alveoli. अब elasticity lose होने की वजह से क्या होता है? alveolar sacs जो होती है उनके अंदर air रह जाती है even after expiration. Now once the air is remained in the lungs remain inflated, यानी lungs फूले हुए ही रह जाते हैं, and once the lungs start to understand that there is a condition that they cannot deflate themselves completely, then finally the patient starts difficulty in breathing. That can be a proper symptom to understand epiphysema. So even in the figure 3 you can understand कि जब lungs were healthy they are going to be pink in color. Okay, now the alveoli were big enough. Okay, and once the person was started to get exposed to smoky areas, a person started smoking, the black depositions came into the alveoli and started to settle out. A black deposition were less जब तक it was a bit okay. But agar वो person still continues to smoke or remain in the smoky conditions, so alveoli are going to finally get covered with all the smoke. और जैसे ही alveoli starts getting filled with smoke, finally your lungs remain epiphyseमिc lungs. Okay, so pink lungs से हो जाएंगे blackish colored lungs. That can be understood that the person is suffering from epiphysemia. Now let's see the third case, that is occupational respiratory disorders. Occupational respiratory disorders, so you can understand that the person who is working in this condition can have a tendency to undergo this condition, right? So इसके causes क्या क्या हो सकते हैं? When the person is continuously exposed to harmful substances, then the person has a higher chance of catching this disorder. अब यहाँ पे very important two conditions आते हैं, that is ciliosis and albistosis. Ciliosis जो होता है that is because of continuous exposure to silica, और अगर albistosis की बात हो रही है then it is because of albistosis dust, right? Symptoms में क्या होता है? Symptoms में होता है first severe lung damage, severe lung damage or fibrosis of the upper lungs. Okay, and this severe lung damage is nothing but swelling and redness of lungs. Severe lung damage की वजह से again you can understand that your respiration is not going to be proper, and that is going to lead to several other related problems. So this is very important that you keep your lungs very healthy, right? Now let's see about the fourth disorder, that is pneumonia. Pneumonia is going to be caused because of infection in the lungs. अब ये infection कौन cause करता है? It is because of bacteria called as Streptococcus pneumoniae. Now this bacteria is going to start to accumulate mucus and lymph in the alveoli. Now once the mucus and lymph starts getting accumulated, then what is the problem? Problem ऐसा है कि exchange of gases is going to reduce. Okay, now once the exchange of gases reduces, uptake of oxygen is going to be affected, और oxygen uptake अगर कम है तो उसकी वजह से oxygen levels blood में are going to reduce. Now once the oxygen levels start to reduce, there are high chances for other conditions to cascade. So now in this figure 1, you can see the condition of normal lungs as well as the pneumonic lungs. So normal lungs के case में alveoli are going to be air-filled cavities, right? But pneumonia के case में क्या होगा? The alveoli are going to be filled with fluid. Now once the X-ray of the chest has been done, and if there is invisible portions of the lungs, then there is a high chance of getting pneumonia, right? Next आता है pleurisy. Pleurisy क्या होता है? Inflammation of the pleural membrane. Now as you know and you can see in the figure 2 that there are two pleural membranes. First is your visceral pleura and second is your parietal pleura. Now when these two membranes are going to undergo inflammation, then the pleural cavity is going to decrease, right? So you can see pleural cavity that was shown by the blue color in the upper picture. Now in the lower picture there is no blue lining, यानी क्या हो गया? Pleural cavity is going to be disappearing because of inflammation, और ये condition को बोलते हैं pleurisy. The next condition is going to be hay fever. That is nothing but acute irritative inflammation of mucous membrane of the upper respiratory passage. Now because of this inflammation and irritation, there can be chances that the person also shows high temperatures. So it is also called as hay fever. और inflammation क्यों होता है? Because of some allergens. So allergens can be a cause of hay की वजह से, that is dried grass can also cause irritation, and because of irritation and inflammation there is going to be high temperature, so completely it is called as hay fever. नेक्स्ट होता है रेस्पिरेटरी डिसऑर्डर्स इन डाइवर्स. अब डाइवर्स those persons who undergo deep sea diving, they have conditions to undergo these disorders. तो क्या होता है, the divers are going to carry cylinders. Okay, in this cylinders there is going to be a inert gas, that is nitrogen. अब nitrogen जैसे ही cylinder में जाता है, what is going to happen is, now you can see in the figure, when the diver is going to be at the lower lower depths of the ocean, then what is going to happen, there is less pressure, right? प्रेशर कम होने की वजह से the nitrogen is not going to actually dissolve into the body. Okay, it needs certain pressure difference to get absorbed into the body, right? Now nitrogen अगर body में चला जाए, what is the problem, that it is going to be 5 times more soluble in lipid. Okay, so जैसे ही partial pressure or the pressure is going to increase as the diver goes down in the ocean, what is going to happen, the nitrogen starts to get diffused into your body. Okay, and once the diffusion starts, वो क्या होगा, soluble हो जाएगा in your fatty tissues. Now fat tissues may, once it starts to accumulate, what is going to happen, the nervous tissue is going to start to compress. यानी क्या होगा, ब्रेन के पास में कुशन जो था फैट्स का बना हुआ, all that area is going to be filled with nitrogen. Okay, now as the diver is going to go again and again deep into the ocean, the partial pressure of the gases in the body is going to decrease, and the partial pressure of gases in the cylinder is going to increase, जिसकी वजह से क्या होगा, high to low transport होगा. So more and more nitrogen is going to come inside the body, and then there is going to be formation of bubbles. अब जैसे ही नाइट्रोजन के बबल्स बॉडी में बढ़ने शुरू हो जाएंगे, then there is going to be blockage in the small capillaries, and once there is blockage in the capillaries, there is going to be high pressure of blood coming in trying to move the bubble out. But now this bubble is not going to move, and that is going to cause mild pain or severe problems. And some of the problems can have a certain disease that is called as Caisson's disease, जिसका दूसरा नाम होता है Bend's disease. Okay, or it can also be called as dysbarism. So in the figure down over here, you can see that how the Bend's disease actually functions. The diver जब lesser depths पे था, then there is going to be lesser nitrogen entering into the blood. But once the diver goes down into the depths of ocean, then there is going to be changes in the partial pressure, जिसकी वजह से ऑक्सीजन और नाइट्रोजन के ratios change होंगे, and then the pain is going to lead to death finally, right? So diver can have high chances of death if he doesn't get sufficient oxygen and nitrogen starts to get accumulated into the body at a rapid rate. Now let's see about carbon monoxide poisoning. Carbon monoxide poisoning को समझने के पहले let's see carbon monoxide and oxygen both are going to compete to combine with hemoglobin at the same point. यानी एक सीट है और दो पैसेंजर है to sit on that same seat. Now the person who is more faster can have a chance to occupy that seat. Similar happens with carbon monoxide and oxygen. Carbon monoxide have a 250 times higher speed to combine with hemoglobin, जिसकी वजह से oxygen loses the chance to combine with hemoglobin. अब जैसे ही carbon monoxide binds with hemoglobin, that is going to form carboxyhemoglobin. अब कार्बोक्सी हीमोग्लोबिन जो होता है that is a relatively stable compound. Now because of a stability of the compound, that is not going to lose its bond. अब जब कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड और हीमोग्लोबिन का बॉन्ड ब्रेक नहीं होगा, then there is going to be reduced oxygen transport. और ऑक्सीजन ट्रांसपोर्ट कम होने की वजह से the person can have headache, dizziness, nausea, or even without help the person can die. Right, so it is a very severe condition that carbon monoxide is going to reduce the oxygen transport, and that can ultimately lead the person to death. Okay, so it is very important that you eliminate the causes of carbon monoxide production. यानी क्या करना पड़ेगा to avoid incomplete burning of fuels. Okay, if there is incomplete burning, carbon monoxide is produced. So you avoid incomplete burning, जिसकी वजह से अगर कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड नहीं बनेगा, then there is no poisoning in your body. So now let's see the last part, that is SARS. SARS जो है, that is full formed as severe acute respiratory syndrome. Okay, अब SARS जो है, that is going to be caused because of a corona virus. अब corona virus है एक नया member of the influenza virus family. Now this new member is considered to be a mutant form of the influenza virus. Now this influenza virus is nothing but the virus causing common cold, right? तो SARS का पहला पेशेंट कहाँ मिला था? The first patient of SARS was reported in China on this particular date. अब यहाँ पे first SARS का पेशेंट मिला था. But now, as you know, because of these crises, you have also undergone to see a name, that is COVID-19. Now, COVID-19 and SARS both are the diseases that are caused because of coronavirus. Okay, but दोनों का क्या difference है? The virus name, right? So virus for SARS is going to be SARS-CoV. Okay, whereas the virus that is causing COVID-19 is going to be called as SARS-CoV-2, right? अब ये COVID-19 और SARS के साथ there is one more disease, that is Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, also shortened as MERS, right? अब ये MERS जो है, that is going to be caused because of a virus called as MERS-CoV, right? And this MERS-CoV virus का जो disease है, that was first identified in 2012. So जो corona virus family है, that is going to cause three major diseases still now known, that is SARS, COVID-19 and MERS. So these are the three diseases which are going to be caused because of viruses belonging to influenza virus family, right? So this brings us to the end of this chapter, breathing and exchange of gases. I hope it was very clear. We'll meet again in another video. Till then, you have to like, share and subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you can meet to see the next video on a new chapter. Till then, keep studying, stay safe, stay smiling. Thank you.